Hello and welcome back to Core Finance. I'm Matt Brown. I'm joined by Nicole Elliott, who is a technical analyst and a private investor. And we're going to look at the Italian 10-year Treasury yield. Always very exciting and has lots of moves, but incredible looking at Italy and what's going on. 1.7, really? Is that a yield? Is that a yield for Italy?
It's absolutely collapsed in the last 5 weeks, Matt. You can see them all dropping like a stone through that really fat rising wedge, which was, suggesting that Italian rates should be going up. It's gone completely the other way, and again from a Fibonacci resistance red level across the top there, right? Now, this is a slightly different story here, but we've dropped 60 basis points, and 1.7 is almost 6 times what the Bund yields. So, I mean, we have a problem in the Eurozone, or rather Italy has a problem. How can you compete with your biggest, bossiest, brutal northern neighbour when you have to fund yourself?
Yes.
Not only at such a high rate, but because you've got so much to fund anyway. I mean, I dread to think what their debt services cost, but I think the annual public debt servicing costs are 70 billion euros a month.
Incredible.
Now, what's happened here, not just recently, but because public debt in Italy is so high, and because of the ECB rules as to the proportion as to what they've got to buy where, they own an awful lot of this. 300 billion euros worth of Italian sovereign debt is sitting at the ECB, right? So Mario Draghi will be delighted by this recent move, but it's a double-edged sword, this, in that this has been building up for some time, right? But the Eurozone has an estimated 1 trillion euros in non-performing loans, of which 1/3 are sitting at Italian banks, and they have an awful lot of little banks there. They've got a lot.
Yes.
That's also a problem. But already we've had some of them sort of restructure themselves and go under, taking all the bondholders with them. And what happened on Wednesday, this another small bank, Bank Creval, decided that they had to get some more capital, urgent, pronto, because bank regulators were twisting their thumbs, and so they decided were going to have a new share issue, 700 million euros worth, and the current shares promptly dropped 30% in a day. And then drag down the shares of some of the other smaller banks too. Now, so what you've got here, if you're a depositor, large depositor in some of these banks, i.e. if you're a corporate, you've got double whammy in that the share price has collapsed, the bond prices are, you're going to be wiped out, this sort of thing, you're going to be wiped out. And I've got a feeling that it's actually shifted into the deposits as well. It's like, do you know what? I just don't want to be involved here. I just don't want to be involved in the banking sector. So you've got no other choice, really, but to buy Italian debt, sovereign debt. So at least you're one step away from the banking sector. Yes. That's all. You're not ring-fenced, you're not anything. But at least you're swapping bank bonds for sovereign bonds. And I think that's been the push over the last 5 weeks on this one.
And you've got the ECB backing up if you need. But it's incredible to see the yields that low, considering everything going on in Italy. But do we think they'll go lower? This flow of money will push these yields lower.
Well, I also see, like, the yields in the Eurozone, you've got to see them as ratios, yeah? So how much over Bund? Basically, your Bund is your lowest.
It's your benchmark.
Yeah. Exactly. And then how much are you paying over Bund? So Portuguese ones have done extremely well this year. They've done been the best performers in that they've got a credit rating upgrade. Things are sort of moving slowly their way. They've got a sort of fairly stable position, as political position, whereas that is not the case in Italy. Not only have we got elections coming up in spring next year, but you've even got 81-year-old Silvio Berlusconi doing another comeback.
I think this is more comebacks than Elvis.
81 years old, and I think it's his fourth time round, and he did pick up a lot of votes in Sicily. And then you've got Five Star, and then you've got the Northern League, and also the separatist movements on top of that, because you do have Veneto and Lombardy suggesting that they never really like the south of Italy very much. They call them meridionales, which is rather scathing. And so it's just layer upon layer of mess, corruption. Their GDP data, for example, includes the unofficial market, as it's politely called. I call it mafia. It's just, where do we start trying to fix this? It really is very disheartening.
Well, on that note, Nicole, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.